I am gonna try and speak really slowly during this review video so that I can share some of my footage, because otherwise I think a lot of the points that I'm making won't even be visually illustrated too much, and I will just have to be like, hey, trust me, bro, which I completely don't want to do. So I tried Princess of Darkness, which is a Crusader Kings 3 Vampire the Masquerade mod, or rather it's a mod that brings Vampire the Masquerade into Crusader Kings 3. And I have a lot to say about it. I wrote a whole ass script in here, so let me begin. So, I like Vampire the Masquerade and I like Crusader Kings. You would think that Princess of Darkness, the Crusader Kings 3 mod that brings Vampire the Masquerade into Crusader Kings 3, and I would be a match made in heaven, then right? Wrong. It appears that this is closer to a match made in hell, and it is not just because I chose to play a Bali, though that one's on me. So where do I begin? Let's just say that Princess of Darkness looks very impressive from the get-go. You can play every type of vampire that you can imagine, but wait, there's more. You can play hunters, mummies, demons, werewolves, fae, jinn, you name it. If there is a supernatural, you can play it. Furthermore, you have access to unique focus for your character and their unique upgrades for your dynasty. Everything from events to character looks has been completely, entirely overhauled. I can't express how much time and effort that must have took, and how much of a just top tier quality mod this is. It is an entirely, completely overhaul of the game. That's jaw-dropping. Like, whoever was working on that, they have put in a lot of work. I don't wanna, like, reduce that. It is impressive, no matter how you look at it. But here's where the troubles begin, at least for me. Everything has been overhauled. However, the base mechanics, in the end, are still Crusader Kings 3. So now you have victories scaling more off your commander than the units that you have when it comes to fighting, for example. But the chance of victory will still be calculating as if it was the units that mattered and not your commander. You can summon all these different types of units, but as the calculation is very much in favor of your commander now, is there a point in summoning all these different types of units? You can blood buff your own commander, but it is hard to calculate that matchups based on what kind of stats your commander has and what kind of stats the enemy commanders have, especially when the game is still acting as if you're playing Crusader Kings 3, which has a completely different balance and way of working fights. Therefore, AI is still acting as if you're playing Crusader Kings 3, and you're not. You're playing Princess of Darkness. There is this overlayer of, like, how mechanics work from your perspective versus how they work from the game's perspective. And these two bits just kind of chafe against one another. They don't run smoothly into the same direction. And that is a shame. The information now feels obfuscated. Hahaha, bit of a Vampire the Masquerade joke. Hidden, if you don't know what that means. Because the innards of the game are working like it is Crusader Kings 3, while you're supposed to be working it like it is Princess of Darkness. More UI, more panels, more digging, more frustration on your end. Secondly, Crusader Kings 3 is highly balanced on unbreakable alliances among your family members. Marriage, children, how you handle that is very important part of the game. Playing the mod, you are a singular ruler forever. You can embrace mortals, but they don't owe you an allegiance, and such an action is more of a way to add to your own court than it is to establish an alliance. It means that lineage means nothing. If you're playing a smaller bloodline or clan, lineage is all you have. Yet your sire, your children, your siblings, none of them will ally with you based on lineage, and therefore one of very strong mechanics of Crusader Kings 3 that just keeps the whole thing going crumples into dust. You still have marriage, you can marry once. My religion shuns blood bonds, so I suppose that's why I could not establish a singular marriage for myself. And trust me, I really needed a strong alliance to be my saving grace in the game that I played. Now, despite my religion shunning blood bonds, I have managed to gain a lover. What me and my lover did on the regular, don't ask me. I don't know. Vampires can't have the, fun times the same way people do, and their fun times tend to result in blood bonds. So therefore, the fact that I am capable of having a lover without having a blood bond, something just seems entirely off there. Furthermore, I got a lover because the Crusader Kings 3 random event popped up and was all like, you find this girl, on the street, she's so pretty, you're very much in love with her, do you want to take her home? And I was like, yeah, let's take her home. And obviously when that event popped up, that character was a human, and they actually had this position of minus 100 towards me, so they hated me and were a lover of me at the same time until I embraced them, and then their disposition became a bit more normal and a bit more meaningful. But once again, that's like two different games clashing in what they're trying to do, and it just feels so off. In Crusader Kings 3, people are fickle. If you have Friends and Foes DLC, which I do, they're extra fickle. This normally doesn't matter all that much because of the bonds that you forge through blood. A rivalry here or there will not just collapse your whole game because these people are still related to you and that stands for something. Well, when those bonds are suddenly not there, or rather don't matter at all, and there's no way to keep strong connections going, you'll even see entire coteries swinging wildly and falling apart. For example, there is a very easy achievement, which is to just establish a full coterie in your game, which is 5 people, I think, 5 vampires. It's a party of 5 vampires. You know how you have a party in D&D, you have a party in here, and it's called a coterie. I tried to sway my childer, which is a person that I embraced and turned into a vampire, for most of my hours that I played, and something kept on dropping her opinion of me. It might have been my prestige, it might have been my legitimacy, but boy oh boy, I would get it to plus 40, I need to get it to plus 50 in order to recruit her to my coterie, it would suddenly tank to minus 10. This means that I can't even recruit them to my coterie. Furthermore, my brother, whom I managed to recruit to my coterie, went from liking me at plus 50 to minus 50, which, while I was in the process of raising to minus 24 so that he doesn't leave the coterie, and giving him a lot of stuff which barely made that thing move, the game decided that I have now randomly gained a rival, and that it is him, and tanked it all the way to minus 80 and disbanded my coterie. You see how Friends and Foes DLC won't really, do much in regular Crusader Kings 3, but here the whole just Crusader Kings 3 doing their random rivalry thing just really completely ruins, the smidgen of little control that I still even have. It made me lose a coterie member, and I only ever got it to being me, my brother, and my lover, which was 3. We were now down to 2. Ugh! This is made even worse by extra mechanics that work as if you're playing the intended game, not so much if you're playing Princes of Darkness. For example, legitimacy. How do you raise legitimacy if you don't have an army to war all the time? Throw a hunt, throw a feast. Well, tough luck if you're a vampire, as none of that is an option. You can't do those activities which you would be doing in regular Crusader Kings 3 all the time. You can throw an Elysium, but that is something that you can do like once every 10 years. It's not gonna save your behind. It's wars or bust, which sucks if your neighbors all are much better than you. Like, you can just put yourself in a no-win situation from the get-go. It sucks even worse if your domain is rocked a little by a plague, legitimately falls, and everyone hates you. Everyone just blanket hates you. What would you do in the regular game? Well, throw a funeral and reassert your legitimacy. What do you do in here? Well, shrug. Who would you throw a funeral for, even your own ass? It's not like said disease does anything of consequence to you personally. It's just that everybody suddenly hates you. Well, now add a repeated event of being challenged by your own council and either swallowing up a 500 prestige penalty or giving up your rulership. And what happened in my save file is that 3 hours in, I was in deep in a hole that I could never dig myself out of. Because, you know, if you remove feasts and hunts, another like tiny little activities that are in the game so that you can get those things like prestige and legitimacy, which are very easy to tank. Another way of doing it is through your royal court. Well, it appears that there is minimum prestige requirements for your royal court. You can't be negative prestige and still hosted. So you can just get into a hole where if you hit negative prestige, there aren't actual activities that you can do to change that negative prestige into a positive prestige outside of like wars and shit. And once again, sucks to be you if you're not strong enough to war. There's like so many safety nets present in Crusader Kings 3, specifically for Crusader Kings 3 mechanics. Not there in Princes of Darkness. Very frustrating because Crusader Kings 3 mechanics still fire off. You just have no way of countering them. So where do we go from here? I imagine if I went with a more well-known and better established clan, I would have had a lot less issues and I would have had a much better time and a much more positive overview of the mod. Blood bonding as a mechanic exists. Marriages as a mechanic exists. It's just that both seem to be completely off limits to my bloodline because my bloodline shuns those things, it seems. However, if I launched unmodded Crusader Kings 3, chose a niche spirituality, like I am maybe one of 18 people in the world that like are followers of this religion. There are like several religions in Crusader Kings 3 that have those kind of starts. And if I started as a count that holds barely any land, not even a duchy, not even a kingdom, one thing that I could count on would be my familial relations. My familiar connections, they would all still be there. Like my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters, my uncles. It is a unit. Point is, all the safeguarding mechanics present in Crusader Kings 3 are suddenly not there in Princes of Darkness. Yet the forces that work against you, such as plagues and legitimacy, are still present. It is as if the developers for the mod are working against the game that they're modding, and the more DLC downloadable content there is for Crusader Kings 3, the worse that gap becomes. In conclusion, Princes of Darkness as a mod is a very frustrating experience. If it was a standalone game that could force its innards to be moving in the same direction as the mechanics that the mod creator wanted to put in, It would be a more coherent and, dare I say, fun experience. That being said, once again, I don't want to say that, this is a bad mod, don't play it. What is there is impressive. It must have been a mammoth undertaking. So if there's a demand, I can always start a shorter playthrough with a more well-established clan so that we can see the best that the game has to offer and minimize the bad. For now though, I am off to sit in a corner and huff and puff. That I found the experience to be more stressful than fun, because this is the kind of thing that I wanted to enjoy, and I couldn't. It was very frustrating, and I really, really wanted to go back to normal Crusader Kings fairly soon. And that is sad, because I like World of Darkness. And I like Crusader Kings, and it seems that if you cross the two, you would get something good. But it feels like Crusader Kings 3 is just a stick in the wheel of Princes of Darkness, or Princes of Darkness is a stick in the wheel of Crusader Kings 3, whichever one you want to prioritize. Now, thank you all for listening to this review, or game essay, whatever you want to call it. If you enjoyed this video, click around, see if you find something else on this channel that you like watching. If you do, consider subscribing. This is a very weird corner of the internet, making very weird content, so only subscribe if you're sure. I would love to reach 10,000 subscribers, honestly. Considering that this is a 14-year-old channel at the moment, I think that milestone would totally have melted the heart of the 16-year-old me all those years ago that started with games like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Because I wanted to get into the whole fun. I wanted to practice speaking English, and I would only record it when everybody was out of the house, and that wouldn't be often, so you would just see this timid little girl trying to sneak in some recordings of her favorite RPG with, I think I was using Fraps at the time. Oh, how the times have changed, but the channel is still here. It's still my hobby. I still like it. I would love for it to go somewhere. It would really feel like an accomplishment that was years in the making. Anyway, that has been entirely off topic for this video. If you have any opinions on Crusader Kings 3 Princes of Darkness, if you have played it, please share it down in the comments below. If you want a live playthrough, or at the very least for me to record a playthrough and then sum up. I'm really shit at doing things like that, but I could try. Where I would be like, hey, I played 30 hours, I reduced it to 1 or 2 or 3, just for you, my dear viewer. If you would like to see something like that, do tell me. I will try, but from my experiences today, it's clear that I find it quite frustrating, and that the game is hard, and that all of the mechanics from Crusader Kings 3 that make the game a lot easier are just not there, and it really feels like they're just plain old missing. Also, if you have subscribed to me on Patreon, thank you so much! Because you guys are the ones that help me finance whatever this is, and I'm very happy about that. Anyway, I hope I will get to see you all on my other videos, and bye-bye for now.